With all the ridiculous stuff coming out of Ubisoft, would you be surprised to find out that Yasuke is down with dudes? That's right, in the next Assassin's Creed, there are going to be same-sex options available for everybody. And I don't think the Japanese are going to be happy about that either. Let's talk about it on That Game Place. Hi folks, it's CC here once again with my great friend Loki. How you doing, Loki?
Doing good, doing good. I'm not surprised though with this news. It's not coming out of left field. This is now Ubisoft.
This is Ubisoft, and I don't even think people realize just how bad things have been going. We're going to be covering a lot of these stories in the days to come because there's nothing but Ubisoft bad news, Yasuke bad news. There's an international incident with Ubisoft. This isn't good at all. Let's just start here with a new report that's claiming same-sex romance options confirmed for Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, while this was written by John F. Trent, I can assure you we have heard this rumor for quite some time. Having it confirmed is something else entirely. So this new report claims that Ubisoft is indeed including same-sex romance options for the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows game. YouTuber JorRaptor reported on X that both Yasuke and Naoi, I don't know, have unique romances, so different character they can romance instead of the same. They then added same-sex romance is back for both characters. So there you are. And a few other things as well. Yasuke cannot wear a hood, only Naoi. I'm just going to keep rolling with that. And there should be more developed relationships. Yikes. So far, we're not even just barely through the intro of this article. What do you think right now?
I think that the woman that did the historical evaluation for these characters, that was the okay with the love. I think this falls right down her alley. So I am not surprised again that this is the direction they went.
Yeah, I would like to say I'm surprised, Loki, but truly, I'm not. This is becoming a more frequent situation for a lot of these game companies that have been corrupted by messaging and people that never should have been in gaming. These consultancy groups that lead them to do ridiculous stuff. But anyway, in a YouTube video, JorRaptor says romances are back, and it seems like it's going to work a bit different this time. For one, just like in Odyssey and Valhalla, we can still choose to pursue romantic relationships or not. But because there are two completely different playable characters, they will now have both their own unique romances. While in Odyssey, for example, both Alexios and Cassandra had exactly the same options. He continued, there will still be same-sex romance options for both characters, just like the previous RPGs, but it seems that the overall focus is a lot more platonic relationships, so without the romantic features. Interesting.
Because that's what everybody wants too.
Well, I mean, the young people seem to be indicating some of that interest in not having so much romance. I mean, it is a video game after all, but, you know, some people like to be completely engrossed and enthralled with the world that they're supposedly escaping into. And I guess romance would help with that. But the associative narrative director, which is this Brooke Davies character that you referred to, said, I think something that's unique in Shadows is we're going to have some more developed relationships, a change to really get close to people, get to know people, all sorts of different relationships for Naoi and Yasuke to explore, stating that so it's not like a dating simulator, like we do have really more serious relationships, a long-term relationship to develop, some lighter romances as well, but you get to know some of these people quite well and pursue something.
You would think that with the romance option in a video game, that would be kind of a standard. So I'm not sure why she feels the need to point that out. They've done that in previous games. They've done that in previous Assassin's Creed games. So I don't understand what point she's trying to make that we haven't heard before.
Yeah, I don't know either, but based on what was next done and speculated by JorRaptor, we already know about some key characters like Oda Nobunaga, one of the most powerful men of this era, who will give a prominent role to Yasuke in his army, which never happened, and Fujibayashi Nagato, Noe's father. But there will be way more characters we meet, of course, that we don't know about yet, and some can be romanced. He also stated, I, by the way, also learned that we cannot miss any romance options depending on choices. I don't know what that means, but all right. This apparent confirmation comes in the wake of a blog post published by Ubisoft in May stated, Naoi and Yasuke's disparate personalities also lead them to have different relationships and rapports with other characters, and they don't always feel the same way about people, nor do people always feel the same way about them. Well, that seems like normal things, right, Loki?
You would think that, but with Ubisoft, you never know who you're dealing with or what kind of mindset you're dealing with. So
that's just weird. Because I mean, obviously, I have a different relationship with certain people than
obviously,
you do. It's just very strange. But anyways, next they discussed romance options. Romantically, they will also attract and be attracted to different types of people. Through the pair, players will get to experience a multitude of relationships, of course. It also comes in the wake of the game director Charles Benoit informing Xbox Wire that the intention behind the game is to teach players about the history of Japan during the Sengoku era, which the game is set in. Loki, knowing what you know about this game, what do you think people are going to learn about the history of Japan?
A broken Ubisoft version of the history of Japan. It's already been proven that a lot of what they're saying did not happen. A lot of what in the game is not going to be standard. They've stolen a lot of things from different areas of Japan and even areas that aren't even in Japan. They've taken things from and are using them. You are not going to get a historically accurate representation, just like you haven't gotten a historically accurate representation of any actual history in the Assassin's Creed games. It's all been a retold, redefined version of history through their storytelling. It's never been historically accurate. We're not watching a documentary. We're playing a game that has a bunch of stuff that's been added by the writers, by the creators of the game.
Sure. But at the same time, they also were real people and had the real jobs and, life of the people that they're representing. They just added that layer of Assassin's Creed on the top. Not so in this game, as you pointed out. But according to Benoit, he said, we're at the end of the Sengoku era in a turning point of Japan history. Assassin's Creed is well known for its depiction of history and accurate recreation of the world, and it's what players can expect with Assassin's Creed Shadows. And as you pointed out, that's not true because you have Chinese lanterns and trees that are blooming out of season and all kinds of other things that are going on in this game that the Japanese are very sensitive to, and for good reason. Their culture is being attacked.
Well, one of the greatest eras of their culture is the Tokugawas versus the Nobunaga's. And if they are saying you can have a relationship with Oda Nobunaga, no. He did not have that kind of relationship with this man. It was not something that happened in history. That is what they are doing is they're violating Japanese history. And for a company that says that should be protected, no cultural appropriation, this is well, we can do it, but you can't. This is a big slap in the face to Japan.
But I think you're going to come up against some more challenging things here, Loki, because he continues to say, we're showing real historical figures such as Oda Nobunaga, and a lot of events that happened during the time. You're not only playing in feudal Japan, but learning about this fantastic time period. Well, not accurately. Also, we're giving the opportunity to the players to live not just one, but two best fantasies of Japan, the samurai and shinobi. Interesting. So, what do you make about the seeming confirmation that the game will feature the same sex options and one of those characters is an actual historical figure? Well, I don't know, John, I got to ask that question to you, Loki. What do you think about this? Do you think this is going to help people's understanding of Japan, or do you think this will further exacerbate the mischaracterization and, well, the retelling of history?
I think that the way they are treating history is out of bounds. They shouldn't be doing what they're doing. Yasuke did not do these things. Yasuke was not in a same sexual relationship with anyone. This is Ubisoft
Well,
being Ubisoft.
I've got to ask you though. At this time, at this point in time, and because of what his station was actually in history, there's a decent chance that he would have been a eunuch. Correct?
Correct. And the Japanese were very careful about who they let into their circles. Was it confirmed that he received a sword from Nobunaga? Some people say it was, some people say it wasn't. If he was presented with a weapon, that is a huge step for the Japanese to accepting them in its culture. That does not mean that they would allow him to marry one of their own. That was a big no-no for them. I'm sorry, they were a xenophobic people. That's just the way they were. That was the way of the time. That's the way Japan operated at the time. So
Yeah. So what I think is reported in history is that he was uh, a retainer. I think is the right word.
he received a stipend from the emperor. So yes, he would have
Yeah,
been a retainer.
or a kashin, I think is what they were called. And they would essentially be in the class of samurai, but were not samurai because samurai were actually a class back then. Anyway,
Yes.
regardless, I think it's important to separate the two. And unfortunately, because of a fake historian, we now have this disastrous mess in front of us. My final thoughts are this, Loki. This is not merely a historical distortion, it's outright offensive. And in another video, which you can find right up here, you'll be able to see exactly what we're talking about and just how the cultural backlash in Japan is not only starting to spread, it's literally firing out of control. But
They're
on that
angry.
note, yeah, on that note, folks, what do you think? Do you think that it's reasonable for them to retell and insert these elements into a game that, well, frankly, is now more a distortion than anything that would teach anybody about accurate history of Japan at the time? Do you think it's unfortunate they're doing this to a living person and changing up what their perception is of his sexuality? And finally, is this a game you still intend to buy? Because I can tell you right now, I think I'm going to skip it. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And as always, game on.